Welcome back, everybody, to the Alchemy of Abundance Virtual Summit, where we're talking about feeling good and making money. I am your host, Chris Jolly, and this time I've got entrepreneur Brandon Gano from What If with me. That's What If with a D, not a T, because those guys from Jersey are a little bit different. I know, having lived there. Brandon's a visionary entrepreneur who turned frustration into a successful business, which he built, franchised, and sold. Now, with his friend and partner, Sean Delaney, they are spearheading What If and pioneering an unprecedented approach to educate and empower small business owners to achieve business growth like never before. Brandon, how's it going today?
Good, Chris. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little bit offended, but I you're not wrong. Like I moved out of New Jersey last year, so like I get it. They are a certain way up there, but no, I'm excited to be here.
All in jest, and like I said, I had lived in Jersey as well, so I know the deal. Just want to make sure everybody gets the spelling right. Excited to have you, and congratulations on getting the heck out of New Jersey. Uh,
Yes, thank you. It's a big accomplishment.
all right, yeah, it took me a decade. So let's just dive right in. So your talk today is Reclaim Your Freedom and Work 50% Less than 90 Days. I've talked to you before on my podcast, and I know this is a big thing for you. Everybody's just kind of going full max, thinking if I work more, work harder, I'll get there faster. People get burned out and lose it. You help show them a better way. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so the summit is obviously about, or at least half of it, making more money, which is awesome. Love that. And people come to us all the time, and I see it on the internet too, where if you just work harder and do more and increase your volume, you will get more. And we just firmly believe, and we've seen it Fortune 100 down to solopreneurs, that the math equation is backwards. And as a matter of fact, I saw a video this morning, as of recording this at least, from Alex Hormozy, one of everybody's favorite celebrity entrepreneurs. And he said that exact thing. He heard something from Grant Cardone where if you just 10x your volume, you'll get more. And I'm like, why is this the just accepted mentality in business? I can prove to you that working less, but working on the right things can not only increase your profitability and your income and what's in your bank account, but it'll reclaim your time. We want to get you back as much time as humanly possible because that's the only way you can actually grow your business.
I love hearing that because I like Grant Cardone, a lot of what he says, but man, that guy exhausts me. And he says 10x what you're doing, and that's easy to do when you have a team that big. But most people see that and they think, oh, I just need to make 50 tweets a day and 9 videos. And you just can't do it, especially if you're a solopreneur. So part of succeeding in business and making more money and just feeling better in life is not running yourself ragged and not being crazy. It's not just about having more money, it's also about having more time. And when I talk to people, at least, especially entrepreneurs, they want the money so they can have the time because a stack of money isn't good by itself, usually. So, Brandon, how do you help entrepreneurs achieve that?
Yeah, I feel unprepared because there's probably such a good analogy to say, like, if you want more, you said if you want more time, you have to have the money to afford it first. If I think of one during this interview that's just backwards, I will let you know, but it's a backwards way of thinking, right? So you will never doing the same things that got you to wherever you are right now. You will never reverse that math equation to be able to afford your time back. It's just impossible. So one of the ways we do that is when we start working with people, it is one of the most common things people come to us with. I want more time. It's I'm overworked. My calendar is for full. My calendar is chaotic. I have no control over it. The other side would be I want more leads. I want more money. And they all really stem from this root cause of just lack of focus. Or in some cases, people are focused, but just on the wrong activities. So one of the things we want to start doing is, and I'll give this to the audience right now, is I would suggest starting with a time study. It sounds so stupid, but and so rudimentary, but most people don't do it. And when you actually list out what you do for a full week, take a Monday to Friday, or take from right now the next 5 business days. I would encourage you to watch all the videos from this summit. So maybe do it after you watch all these videos, but take the next 5 business days and just don't go crazy. The way I like to do it is actually I use Google Calendar. So after I complete an activity, I'll just go put an actual schedule item on my calendar to say, this is what I did. So like from 1 to 2 p.m., I recorded this interview with Chris and it was fantastic. And I wouldn't delete it off my calendar if you paid me. But then I wanted to keep track of that throughout the day and throughout the week. At the end of that, look back and say, where did my time go? The next step is probably the most important, and that is instead of just saying, okay, there's my calendar, start to put dollar values on everything you did. Now, not everything is going to result in immediate revenue, and that's totally fine. But what you're doing should paint the path very clearly to at least potential revenue. If you're answering emails, but it's really just like clearing out your spam folder, there's no way that that's ever going to get revenue. That's just a distraction. So those are things you can start to delete. And we have a whole process we walk through people through and how to analyze what you're doing, but start to think in those two buckets. Is this an activity that is leading to revenue or potential revenue, or is it a waste of time? Those are two very big buckets. But if you can start to just split your calendar and your time up into those two, then you can identify where are you? That's always the first step is clarity. Where are you right now? So in the context of time, where is it going? Where are you spending your time? And then you could take that next step and start to get it back.
Absolutely. I have to admit, as an entrepreneur myself, I am totally guilty at times of getting caught up in the minutia. There's so many things to do when you run a business, especially if it's just you or just you and a small team. And, how do I prioritize these 10 million things that I could be doing? And then you find out that like, oh, I'm on social media, but I'm not posting. I've been scrolling, or I've been redesigning my LinkedIn page for like an hour and a half, and how is this going to get me more clients? So that's why that time study is so vital. And, if you come to it with an open mind and really pay attention to what it shows you, it can be life-changing. I remember thinking, I don't have enough time. How am I ever going to get all of these things done? There's not enough time in the day. I feel like I run around all day and nothing gets done. And then you do the time study and you're like, oh, there's so much time that I've just been wasting, not paying attention to, not being focused or focused on the wrong things.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not telling you to do it to feel bad about yourself, but you're gonna feel bad about yourself. If you've never done one or if it's been a while since you've done one, you're gonna end up being like, "Oh, I'm a terrible human being." But you're not. We're gonna tell you how to fix it first and foremost. But yeah, I like to do them every 3 to 6 months. I have my calendar color coded so I can like at a glance look at least my meetings upcoming and in the past and say, am I allocating my time appropriately? But I still go through it every, like I said, 3 to 6 months and say, no, what is actually going on in between in those white spaces that I need to be aware of. And it's just a good practice. It's like the fundamentals, right, of any sport. You got to get in the habit of doing that, or else it starts to get a little loose on you.
Yeah, and it's so important and so integral because once you see where you're spending your time, then you realize you've got all these chunks that you can actually reorganize to do the stuff that does move the needle. And then you start to make progress, and then it starts to become fun again. And then it's almost impossible to not be this super organized, nerdy person with the color-coded schedule, but it's effective.
Chris called me out over here. So he's making fun of Jersey. He's calling me nerdy with my schedule.
I'm
I'm
talking about
I'm
me.
keeping track, Chris. I'm keeping track.
I'm talking about me on that one.
No, I hear you. I am too. It's awesome. I love it.
Okay, so once you help entrepreneurs start to take back their time, what happens?
They yell at me and they push back, and it's this very predictable cycle of people are so used to doing a lot of things that don't matter. When we tell them to do a few things that do, they're like, now I'm not busy and I don't feel productive.
Hmm.
You weren't productive ever, first of all. You're just
Yep.
not busy. So yeah, so we go through the time study. We want to understand where you are, and then what we want to do really is we work in 3 month increments. So we call them sprints, 90-day sprints. And what we'll do is put together a strategy and execution map. And it's not about just planning. Planning's cool, love planning, but if you're not going to actually do something about it, then it's useless. So um, we build the bridge between strategy and execution, and we pick 3 projects that are really going to move the needle in your business. So it's custom for everybody we work with. There's no like prescribed 3 things that are going to move the needle. But we work with our clients to identify, okay, what are these 3 things? And then within that, we get super detailed. So the 5 things that we really want to look for are what is the outcome of this project? So by outcome, I mean, what is the process that we're developing so that this is something that can be repeatable in the future and we don't have to redesign the wheel, so to speak. Then we go and set a goal. So this is an actual metric. So if we want to onboard 10 new clients, that would be a metric that we can at least shoot for and measure by. From there, we want to put together, it's like a recipe. We want ingredients. What are the things that must be here in this project for this project to be successful? So we want to put everything down that could possibly make this project successful. So you think about baking a cake, I think it's just a perfect analogy is your flour, your sugar, your maple syrup. You can obviously tell I don't bake a lot of cakes, your baking soda, all of the things you need to make that cake come to be an actual cake. From there, we also want to list out your resources or tools. So could it be hiring a VA? Could it be paying a third party company or agency? Could it be hiring a team member? Is it a software tool that we need to utilize for this particular project? So list all those things out. Let's go back to the cake. It's your spatula, your knife, your pan, your baking spray so it doesn't stick, all of that kind of stuff. And then finally is the activities. And this is the most important part. So think about this cake again. You have all your ingredients, all your tools on the table. That's basically your plan, if you will, right? So they don't just magically come together. You can't just say, okay, clap and look, poof, cake. No, there are things you have to do to make that happen. You have to combine your wet ingredients, your dry ingredients, then mix them and then pour it out and then put it in the oven and bake it for an hour. So that's what we need to do is list out every possible activity you can think of that will make this project a success. And the last and final step is that's where people get stuck a lot of times because they think they have to do all of those things. And you have a list of 20, 30 items, and now you're more overwhelmed than when we started, right? Well, we want to pick three. Pick the top three, use the 80-20 rule. What is the most leverage I can use to actually make sure that these are the activities that will make this project successful? And we want to do those with a consistent basis, usually once every day or every 2 days at most. And that's it. So you don't have to think about the rest of the list. We plan this out. We execute on those three things every single day. We track our progress, and then we make little tweaks over those 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, people are shocked by the progress. But to go back to your question, so that's the whole process, right? About 1 week in is when people come to me and they say, it's not working. I'm not busy enough. It's not working. This is stupid. I want to go back to my old ways. And we have to push back and we say, okay, first of all, you don't feel busy because we're telling you to do three things, not 300 things.
Yeah.
But it's also not working because it's been 5 days. Okay, squirrel. So you need to give this some time to actually have collect data and measure and monitor and go from there. So in that 1 to 2 week mark is when the squirrel brains come and they try to attack you. Just please be consistent and be focused for once you get past 3 or 4 weeks, you really start to see the momentum build, and that's where things start to change. So that's it's so predictable. It's so funny. I always laugh at people. They're like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm like, "I'll show you in 2 weeks."
Love it. Okay, now I want to go back a little bit before that. So when they come to you, I'm sure, because as we talked about the whole hustle culture, all there is to do as an entrepreneur, we know so many people are burned out and working crazy hours and all this. When they come to you and they're in that kind of panicked, overwhelmed state, nothing's working, what is something that you can do to help them reconnect with actually feeling better about having a business, being an entrepreneur, and like it's actually going to work out and I'll be okay?
I can't guarantee that. I'm so, so sorry, but I can at least give you the roadmap of what we do. So, yeah, most of the time when people come to us like that, and we've had plenty of those people, full disclosure, I've been there myself in the
Yeah.
past with on my other business. Um, but one of the things that we've realized is common with those people is they've lost connection to their personal why. Like, why did you start this business in the first place? And that's always where we start with our clients, whether it's solopreneur, even up to the Fortune 100. We start with the navigation, which is your core values, your mission, and your vision. And we get such a big lift with people, whether you're burned out or not, in just reestablishing, okay, what is the mission? Like, why are we here? What does our company do? More than that, who do we serve and why do we serve them? And a lot of companies, we work with companies with, 20, 30, 60 employees, and the owner might know, the leadership team might know, but most of the time, the majority of the organization has no idea what the mission is. It might be like pretty words on a wall that they walk past and they've seen, but they don't know what the mission means. They don't know why this company came to exist in the first place. And it's no different regardless of the size of the organization. So we get super focused and clear on what the mission is. That will reinvigorate your why, like 100%. The second thing is, of course, okay, now I know why I am in this physical moment. Where am I going? So you've heard the phrase, without a vision, the people will perish, right? It's from the Bible, good book. You should check it out. But it's so true. You can't have people marching towards a future of confusion, of nothing, because you'll never get there by definition, right? So we want to paint that 5-year vision very clearly. And this is where the buy-in with, if you have a team of employees, if it's one or if it's 1,000, you want to make sure you connect your company's vision to each of their individual visions. And that's a powerful step because then everybody sees, okay, when I execute my role, my job on a daily basis, I will not only achieve the company's vision, because that's important. I want to be employed, I want to have a job. I will achieve all of my dreams and goals because I know exactly what that means in terms of my life. So those two things are really how we invigorate people, both the entrepreneur who comes to us for help, but also their team, because not that they're checked out. We like to give people the benefit of the doubt. They're not educated on what the company they work for stands for and where they're going. So they're confused. And we want to eliminate that confusion as quickly as possible.
Yeah, company culture is so important. And when you get to work somewhere where everybody is on board and working towards the same vision and knowing it's also moving their lives and goals forward at the same time, it's a really special place to be. And I think not a workplace that most people get to experience.
It's so rare. I've worked at a number of places before I jumped into the entrepreneurial side of things, and everybody just feels like a cog in a wheel, and you feel meaningless, right? And it really does suck the soul and the life from people. We just believe that this is my personal belief. If you're going to hire somebody to help you further your vision and you don't help them grow as a person, as a human being, you failed as a leader.
Yep, absolutely. And even if you don't have a team, you have to make sure that you are connected to the vision yourself and that you buy in because again, like you said, if it's not something that like stirs up inside of you, it's just words on paper and then you don't strive to meet those because there's nothing driving it. And what I found is I talked to pretty much everybody throughout that summit. It's connecting to that why or reconnecting to it that makes business feel good and helps you remember why you're here and kind of alleviates all that stress and lets you know that you're doing something you love and the money's going to come and you're going to help people and just kind of keeps moving you forward.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. And yeah, we've made business so stale and boring and gross, really. It should be fun. It should be emotional. Like you should be connected to what you've created. This is a beautiful thing. So yeah, let's make it more fun and more emotional for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think, between people who have a business and people who are entrepreneurs but do something because they must. Because and not to like put down, I used this example the other day, not to put down power washers. I'm sure somebody out there is like really keen on it and that's what they're here for and they love making things clean like that. I'm not, but if I wanted to make 6 figures a year doing power washing, I feel like I could figure that out pretty easy, right? Like some people just do something to make money, and that's totally cool because it helps them connect with their why in another way, having the money and what have you. But yeah, just I think when you have to do it, you're driven to and you keep at it no matter how hard it gets.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, so how do you personally put barriers between your work time and your home and family life? And what do you do in order to kind of like make sure those are a little bit separated? Because I know it's so easy to have like work time bleed into home time and all that stuff.
With my super colorful calendar. That's how I do it. So I schedule personal things on all my calendars are synced. So I have personal blocks or personal time blocked off on my calendar. So um, I know well in advance if I want to take a Thursday afternoon, and that's family time. I'll block it on my calendar so nothing can get there by accident. So that's me proactively blocking those things off. I also put buffers on my day. So I have breakfast is in my calendar. I know that sounds rigid. I'm not saying I always take breakfast at the same time, but that time is at least blocked off in my calendar. so that everybody, whether it's my partner or someone on our team, or if I'm scheduling a meeting that a podcast interview or a meeting with a potential partner, I can look at my calendar and say, no, that time is blocked off, and I can set that boundary very quickly. The other thing is I had the conversation with my wife. Our kids are very young, so it's relatively easy to keep them happy. But I said, what's an appropriate amount of time? Like, what are the appropriate expectations from me where you need me present? And because I love what I do, I could very easily work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and be perfectly happy. It's not healthy. We're not saying that. I'm not advocating that.
Yeah.
Um, but without these boundaries, like you're asking, I would just be a workaholic. So I work a relatively normal schedule, and then the other, like a 40-hour a week kind of thing. But the other thing I do is I segment my days, which has actually been more beneficial than just capping my time. So I take days of the week that I only do certain tasks. And what that allows me to do is be hyper focused on one or two types of activities in any given day. And what I've seen is my productivity go through the roof. Because you've heard of context switching, I'm sure,
Yep.
or hyper switching. So the for the audience who maybe that's a new term, it's just multitasking is another way to think about it. It's just switching between tasks very quickly, or very frequently. So think if I have a meeting with a client, and then I go to scrolling on social media, and then I go to writing emails, and then I go to posting on social media, and all of that happens within 25 minutes. Your brain actually takes between 5 and 15 minutes to switch between activities to become effective at the next one. So that means if you're going through four different types of activities in 1 hour, your brain is still probably on activity one or two, whatever you were doing, if it was that meeting. So what I'll do is, for example, Tuesdays, I only record episodes of my own podcast. So I know that from basically when I start at about 9 a.m. to when I finish around 4 or 5, I've recorded 8 to 10 interviews, but I'm only a podcast host. My identity is one thing that day. My brain is one thing that whole day. Um, Wednesdays and Thursdays, I reserve for client meetings, client calls. Mondays are for more of the admin boring tasks that in the CEO work that has to be done. Fridays, I do leave a little bit unstructured for flexibility. But so 4 days of the week, my brain only has to be one thing all day. And it's this relief to know that as I'm going into the week, there's no surprises, there's no unexpected things that may come up because it's already planned out. And it's actually quite easy. We can push back on that a lot, but you can set your week up like that in a way that you work best. I would say at the very least, start with 3 blocks throughout the day and say, okay, mornings are for social media, middays are for email, afternoons are for clients or creative work, whatever it is for you. But at least start to put your brain into those buckets so that it's very easy to keep those lines clear between work life and home life, because I never have to switch back and forth throughout the day. That's really what causes that, is the constant switching throughout the day. When you say, okay, I'm dad, I'm husband now at 5 or 6 p.m., your brain's still at 2 p.m. because you haven't caught up yet. So you're not present. So it's about, segmenting your day into those different activities.
What's interesting as I'm hearing that, I'm thinking about probably a lot of the entrepreneurs who come to you, and I find a similar thing around finances and some systems and processes and stuff in your business like that, that people are like, oh, I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to have all this freedom. And now I have to do all this nitty gritty stuff and make all these SOPs. And that's not fun. And it's just going to make business too rigid. And then you realize that the only reason you're running around like crazy and not having fun in business is because you don't have these things in place that allow you to complete the tasks you need to with ease instead of going back and forth, putting out a million fires.
Yeah, people think boring is not sexy. It's the opposite. The more boring you can make your business and your day, the more you're gonna like your business and the what's in your pocket at the end of the day too. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, and the more freedom you'll have in life, mentally, emotionally, time-wise,
Yeah.
money-wise. Yep, absolutely. Okay, now What happens after an entrepreneur goes through that kind of kicking and screaming phase with you and does the time study and adjusts the way they're doing things and then finally realizes like, oh, I have all this more time now. What happens in their business after that?
Usually they want to go super fast and they're like, okay, this is all like now I want to grow my business. Let's double the business. And I say pause because that we can get there, but I need you to enjoy this for a little bit, like 30 days. Let's just take a breath, see how this feels. Because for most people, that's the first time since they started their business where their head is clear.
Yeah.
And it's so they want to, even though their time, they have the time freedom at this point, their head is still not used to being bored, if you will. Not that you're going to be bored, but to have that space and that clarity to think and plan and actually strategically plan the future rather than just saying, okay, I want to double my business. So pause. That's my best advice is wait that those 30 days at minimum, and then we can evaluate and go forward because you might actually change your mind. You might say like doubling maybe isn't best for us right now. We'll grow a little bit because we want to be more profitable. We want to bring on a few more people to do these sort of tasks. We want to pay our people more, all beautiful things. But having the ability to step back and have more controlled planned growth is actually going to be more sustainable and more fun in the long run. What we don't want to do is jump back into the crazy. They also don't like that when I tell them to pause, but it's okay. Everybody gets over it. We've never had anybody like really, really hate me for this after they see the results. But it's like going to the doctor and saying, the best way to get in shape is eat well and exercise. Well, I want a better solution. Like, just do that one, please. I promise it works. And then when we get there, we can do more fun things. But yeah, that's really what it takes. And if you're at this summit, you're watching this and you want to grow your business, I really want you to get to the pause first, whatever it is with finances, with your business, whatever. Get to the place where you can breathe and then see what ideas come to you because that's really where the magic happens. That's where when you have clarity and mental clarity and focus, you'd be surprised what changes in your thought patterns and process.
Yep. I mean, just that little bit of relief will make worlds of difference, 100%. Now, can you tell me about a time in your business when you felt like you were really firing on all cylinders, everything was flowing, you were feeling good, making money?
Um, Now, does that count? You
Yeah,
think?
now counts totally, of course. That's the best
Um,
time for it to be.
yeah, like definitely now. We definitely practice what we preach. So no, that now, but also so in my last business, right before I sold it, I was in a similar position where I had made that transition from overworking, doing the 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Pretty sure I shared that when I was a guest on your podcast. And the transition from going to working about 80-ish to 5 a week was huge for me. And I felt like everything was flowing. The customers were happy, employees were happy, everything was moving along beautifully. And it was the first time in that business where I felt like I made it to a certain extent, not from a economic or social status kind of thing, just like, wow, this is what I set out to create in the beginning. And I made it so hard for no reason. But now it's that breath that I talked about. It's like, I get it. And then I said, wow, I hate this business. I want to sell it. Different story. But you see what I mean with the mental clarity. Like I thought that was my thing. I thought that was my whole life. I wrote my plan until I was 80 years old and it included this business. And then I got that clarity and I said that was dumb. But that's the power of achieving that. I'm not going to say that's going to happen to you. My circumstances were much different. But yeah, I do remember that time because it was a pivotal moment in my life where I was actually shocked by what came out of it.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually better if that is you and you do go through that, that you realize that earlier that this isn't the right thing. Now I've achieved that clarity and it's time to do something else that I'm gonna like better.
Yeah, absolutely. I just realized, I've been living in when you work that much and you're that stressed, you're living in fight or flight.
Yeah.
And your body from a stress response just literally can't handle that for that extended period of time. So when I was able to get out of that and you move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your perspective shifts, your world shifts, your relationships shift, everything, your finances, everything will change. And just what I would say is be open to whatever comes.
Yep, that's most of life I'm starting to feel these days.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brandon, now before I let you go, can you tell us about your free gift? The link is right below the video here. It's called 90 Days to Freedom. Tell everybody what they're getting there.
You get freedom. You're going to get your time back. So our whole goal with putting this together was what is something that we can actually walk with you through to help you get 50% of your time back in the next 90 days. So it's a three-part audio series. The link is whatif.com/clarity, or like Chris said, it's down below. But we want to take you through what is that process of getting clarity in your business, that first step that I talked about. So get clear on where you are. Where is your time? A time study is not included in that, so that's a bonus. Definitely, I would suggest go through and do that, like I talked about earlier. But we want to get clarity in your business. How is it functioning? What's missing? What's broken? Where are the holes in the bucket, if you will? And from there, then we want to say, okay, how do we focus on the right things? And what are the right things to focus on in your business so you can be hyper focused, doing less, and executing? Don't forget to execute. That's the most important part. And it kind of walks you through that. So you'll be able to get clarity, have the confidence that you know exactly what you're doing, and then you just execute for the next 90 days. Start peeling that stuff away that's a waste of your time, and you'll be surprised what will happen on the backside of that.
That's excellent. You know, when we talk about abundance, I think a lot of people's minds move to money immediately or kind of material wealth. But if you don't have time, none of that has any value, right? If you're dead, it doesn't matter what there is out there. And if you're too busy to enjoy the things in your life, it's kind of pointless. So sometimes alchemy for more abundance isn't actually going out and making more, it's just doing more with what you already have and realizing that there's already more available to you right now. You're just not using the resources properly. And sometimes all that means is making your schedule little color-coded boxes.
I love the color coded boxes. You know, that's interesting though. Um, that's something we've thought about. That if you were to put freedom into a math equation, it would be money times time equals freedom. So we all want freedom, and you could substitute that word with abundance. I believe it's the same thing because you can always make more money. Making money is simple. It's very, very easy. There's a billion people on the internet who can probably tell you how to make more money. Um, but the time piece, if you have no time and $6 trillion, what is 6 trillion times zero?
Nothing.
It's zero. Your abundance, your freedom equals zero. So that's why we stress on it. If you're going to grow your time, if you're going to increase your abundance, you can't be really worried necessarily about the money. You have to focus on getting your time back so that you have the time to increase your money. And then, of course, your abundance and your freedom will flow. So, Chris, thank you for allowing me to be here, share this message. I hope it helps a lot of people. And thank you for putting on the summit because I think more people want abundance, but let's focus on that time piece, right? Let's get that back first so we can all enjoy the abundance.
Absolutely. I love it. Brandon, thanks again for coming on today. Everybody else, thank you for listening in, and we will see you next time on the Alchemy of Abundance Virtual Summit.